My fuel pump started leaking. I inspected it. It's all original to the car, so it's 34 years old. It's got to go. I printed out some stuff from the manual. And then to get the correct parts numbers, this is off of the EPC. That's the part number for my accumulator, the filter, and then that's the part number for the pump. They're both identical, and that's Bosch's number for the pump. I have an 88, so it's a Gen 2, 86 to 91. These numbers should be the same. I already took off this plastic cover on mine. It sits on the back, and this diagram shows the correct orientation of everything, although I'm going to be taking lots of stills in order to put this back together. So I'm going to get going on it now. Yeah, I can see it leaking. It's not this pump, it's the pump in front. I drained the tank as far as I can get it. Before I start any work, I want to disconnect the battery. I just disconnect the negative. It does not look good. Right there. They're actually frayed. I think that plastic's been rubbing on there. I can see bare wire. That's crazy. I noticed these two gouges. They're really deep from those wires rubbing on there. When I redo this, I think I'm just going to zip tie those wires up so that they don't get anywhere near that. I like to get the whole unit on the bench instead of taking it apart individually down here. Some oil in there. Well, there's the wiring harness. It's zip tied to like that cross member on the frame. So I'm going to remove all these caps first. There's a nut in there. There we go. That one. It's really tiny. There we go, 7mm. Okay, got that one off. 8mm. I'm just using a nut driver. Makes it easier. Just want to get the wiring harness out of the way. I'm just going to disconnect the two fuel lines. The inlet just has that clamp with a little Phillips. Okay, I'm going to remove the fuel line from the filter. This nut on the line is a 17. Then in between there, really thin, is another 17. So you have to counter hold the inner one with one wrench, with another wrench, put it on that one, and then turn it. Okay, well, I'm draining the gas out of the lower hose there. I don't know, it's coming out surprisingly slow, really. And all the fuel drained out. Okay, there's 4 10mm on this bracket. I can get to 3 of them with a socket, but this one I got to get with the wrench. Okay, I got the 10mm off, and now it's just sort of hanging. There's a big zip tie holding it on right at the top here. I'm going to have to remove that. Okay, there it is. Got it on the bench. This thing is just extremely rusty. Yeah, this fuel line is hard. I got to replace that. Okay, I wire brushed everything off, and now I'm just putting on some PB Blaster. Okay, I took the rubber boots off of these two. These are the ones that were taped up, but basically this orange wire was frayed really bad, and now it's not even making a connection. So I have to cut that off, maybe keep that clip, and then get shrink wrap over that. Okay, the black wire is frayed as well. I've got these two soldered, and now I'm going to straighten them out and put the shrink wrap on them. And I'm going to shrink it. Got them shrink wrapped, and then I've got friction tape on there. I can clean these up pretty good before I try putting a wrench on here. Okay, I'm going to take the accumulator off. There's a 8mm nut on the back and a big Phillips on the front. Oh man, there we go. Okay, the big nut's a 17, the little one's a 12. Okay, there we go. I'm going to have to go over this with a file and get rid of all that, I don't know, it's like scaly on there. Okay, added more PB blaster, and I got that one to break. And this one down here on the fuel filter. Get this hose, there we go. I'm going to put some of this freeze-off stuff on here. There's a counter 17, the one in the front. There we go. And then this part. This is the 1/4-inch braided fuel line that I got to replace this piece. Okay, I got the bracket cleaned up, got all the slate off, wire brushed it, sanded it. Once I clean it up with lacquer thinner, this will take paint. These rubber buffers are in excellent shape. I mean, they move, they're soft, there's no reason to replace those, so I'll just mask them off when I paint this. First, going to be applying rust reformer. This converts rust into a paintable surface. Well, I'm going to be top coating this with gloss enamel black. The enamel dried overnight. I put it on super thick, and I got the gloss black paint on there. That looks good. I got 2 heavy coats of high gloss enamel. That should last a while. Okay, I'm glad I took all these pictures. Here's a close-up of the accumulator showing the fastener. You can see the orientation is correct. Okay, here's a decent photo from the back, and it shows the orientation of the filter. I'm going to put that pump on the bottom bracket, put in the plastic insert. I'm not torquing everything down right now, just enough to hold stuff in place. Alright, I got this loop put on, and this is where the other pump goes. Right. This one goes this way. And I already tested it, they do thread in to this back piece here. Okay, next I'm going to be attaching this hard line. It's got a nut on the top which goes into the accumulator, then it goes through a banjo bolt right here into the filter, and then onto the pump. I'm reusing these filters from the pump, so I put one in, then I put this piece on, and put on the other washer, and then I cleaned up these caps. And then the banjo bolt, that's the washer that was on it. That goes here from the outside. That would go on the inside like that. And then there's no washers on there, you just spin the nut on. Well, in order to get everything lined up, I had to loosen all the brackets. Okay, well, I'm going to start the accumulator nut, just a few turns. See if I can slip this crush washer underneath the filter. There's the banjo bolt. Okay, yeah, that's going. And the washer for the pump. And the nut, it's a 17 millimeter. Have that one. Alright, I got that lined up. they're snugged up. Now I'm going to do the lower pump. I reused these washers. I got them cleaned up. So put on the inner one. And this is the bracket. Outer washer and cap. I'm just going to go like that so I can move this back and forth. And then I got to get a hose clamp and attach it to the fuel pump down there. I cleaned up all these original Mercedes clamps, so the ones that didn't break, I'm going to use those. It's more important to get this hose. There we go. It just clipped right in. I'm just going to tighten this up a little bit. Okay, these are the original stainless clips of Mercedes that I cleaned up. One on the accumulator. The other one goes down here. And then this brass tube. This is the inlet coming from the tank. And then this goes down here into the pump, and this is for the accumulator. And that is a very tight fit. And I'm keeping all the fasteners pointing downward. So if it's on the card and you got to get to that, you're not going to be taking off that bracket. You can't have it on the top. So everything's got to be orientated, you know, so you can get a tool up in there. Okay, I got the clamp on. I'm using silicone spray, and I'm just going to put a little bit on the metal so this inserts easier. That one's tight. Okay, I got the tube facing up. This goes around there. These two connections are made once it's mounted on the car. I'm just going to go around now and tighten everything up. I'm going to counter the nut. These are on there really tight. Okay, I got the pump held in place with these 10 millimeters. There's 4 of them, and they're like wood screws with a real coarse thread, and they just get mounted right into the frame rail. And then that one, I got to use a wrench on that. The fuel line that goes to the fuel filter has got to be routed under this part right there, and then you can see it should just about reach. Alright, that's a 17 millimeter. Okay, I tightened down that fuel line, and now I'm clamping down the main fuel line that comes in from the tank. Here's the hardware for the electrical connections. The positive's a 7 millimeter. It's tinier, the washers are smaller, and then 8 millimeter for the negative. And here's the clips. You can see one's larger than the other, the diameter. And they're notched out on the post. So when you put a clip on, it'll push down right there in between the plastic. Let me get these started by hand. Okay, and I'm going to slip the caps over. Okay, the car's been running for 10 minutes, no leaks, so I'm going to put this splash shield on now. Okay, I just got back from a test drive, headed out on the back roads. I would punch it, it would deliver fuel, so all the pumps are working fine. I let it sit in the garage for about half an hour and it's not leaking, so that repair is good.